Okay, let's talk about perceived effort, what it is specifically and why I train by it. So like I mentioned the other day, I do train by perceived effort, or the rate of perceived exertion, or rate of perceived effort, RPE for short. I didn't always train by this scale. I used to be one of those people that were always out, looking at the watch constantly and, monitoring my paces and my splits on the road and going by, heart rate and all of those things. Kind of a slave to my watch, you might say. But then when I started training with Vert.Run, they go primarily by time and perceived effort. No more go run 7 miles. It's run 1 hour at a 6 out of 10 on the perceived effort scale. So I made the change to that, and I've been really happy with it, honestly. And it's just helped me kind of learn my body a little bit better. So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons, specifically why it's better for trail runners, but it also helps a lot for road runners. But first, let's talk about exactly what is a rate of perceived effort scale. What does it mean? It's pretty simple. It's just a way for runners, in our case, other people as well doing fitness, but runners, for us to identify our level of exertion that we are giving during an activity. One of the main ways that people go by perceived effort is what's known as the Borg rating of perceived effort scale, and it's on a scale of 6 to 20, which is kind of odd. 6 being doing nothing, literally you're pretty much asleep, with 20 being maximal effort, you can't sustain it, it's just all out. But it's kind of weird, 6 to 20, why would they do that? So basically the reason for it was if you put a 0 after each of those, so 6 would become 60 and 20 would become 200, that would theoretically be your heart rate at that type of effort. So at a 6, again, sleeping with a resting heart rate of 60, that it correlates, it's pretty good. Or max effort, you're pegging your heart rate out as high as you get, and it's up there in that 190, good grief, but it's very close to that 20 then. So that's kind of where they came from with that. But it has evolved over time to now a Borg category rating scale of 10. So basically 1 to 10, or 0 really, to 10. With 0 being rest, again, like that sleeping, and 10 being just maximal exertion. And that's kind of similar to the scale that Vert.Run uses and now I use. They don't start at 0 because if you're doing an activity, you're never gonna really be at 0. But it kind of goes from like a 3 up to a 10. And we'll go over that here in just a few minutes. So perceived effort, perceived exertion, RPE, whatever you want to call it, I'll just call it perceived effort. It's physical markers an individual may feel that identify how they feel during that activity. So you've got increased heart rate, increased breathing, increased sweating, and also muscle fatigue. And that's kind of what you were using while you're running to determine your scale. How high is your heart elevated? Can you feel it? Is your breathing so much so you can't carry on a conversation anymore? Are you sweating crazy amounts? Are you just exerting yourself full on? Are you starting to feel that lactic acid build up in the legs and your muscle fatigue is just really high? Those are all things you're looking at. So why specifically is this good for trail runners and also for road runners? But I'm gonna talk about trail runners because yes, I run a lot of miles on the road, but pretty much all the races, with the exception of that marathon back there that I just did, I run all my races and adventure runs on the trail. It's what I love to do. So for trail runners, the first reason is because we are constantly on different types of terrain, varying elevation. We're not just running on a road that's flat where we can constantly, maintain a pretty steady heart rate and pace. It varies greatly. You might be running up a hill at a 12-minute mile, a 13-minute mile, which is slow for the road or on a flat ground, but you might be going at a 20% incline or a 15% incline, and your heart rate is really exerted. Your breathing is labored. That exertion, that perceived exertion and effort is going to be very high. It's going to be much higher than, let's say, running even an 8-minute mile flat or downhill, depending on your fitness. It's going to be much higher. So you can't just pick out a pace and a heart rate and say, I'm going to run this. On trail, it varies so greatly. It's just not an accurate way to do it. Perceived effort really works well. And the second reason why perceived effort is good for trail runners is our heart rate. It's always affected by numerous factors. There's not just one every day. This 8-minute pace is going to be this heart rate, or this 10-minute pace is going to be this heart rate. It's never the same, ever. There's so many factors that play into that. And by the way, if you are trying to measure heart rate accurately before your training, you should be using a chest strap. Watches, no matter how decently accurate they are never going to be as accurate as a chest strap. But by training by perceived effort instead of heart rate, you're going to really learn to listen to your body and feel your effort and what are you exerting at that time. So by training by perceived effort instead of heart rate for trail running and even on the road, it really helps you listen to your body more and understand your effort a little more accurately. And the third reason why perceived effort is really good for us trail runners is it really helps you get to know yourself. It's kind of similar to number 2, but a little bit different. It really helps you know yourself, your body, but not just your body, also your mental state and just how you are. Are you ready to go do a 8 out of 10 on the perceived effort scale, or are you need to do more of a recovery run today? You begin to focus more on how do your legs feel today? How is your muscle fatigue? What's your heart rate like on your run? Did you sleep well last night? Are you maybe getting over a little sickness? Are you stressed out at work? All these things play a factor with your heart rate, your training, and it will affect the effort level that you are giving on a given run. So knowing all of that, paying attention to it, and learning yourself will just help you be a better runner and more accurately gauge your effort on a run. All right, so let's take a look at the vert.run perceived effort pace chart. It's on your screen. You can take a look at it. I'm going to go over it with you. But basically, the first level is a 3 or 4 out of 10. And this is what's known as like an easy recovery pace. You should be able to maintain a conversation the entire time. If you can't, you're going too fast. You need to be able to talk and not have labored breathing. This is not about running fast at all. This is about recovering, letting your body recover from maybe a previous day's really hard effort. Next on the scale is endurance pace, and this is like a 5 or 6 out of 10. It's not as slow as a recovery run. It's not as fast as a speed workout or a tempo run. Definitely not. This endurance pace is what you're going to use to improve your aerobic engine, your aerobic base. You should still be able to talk just fine, carry on conversations, breathing should be fine. Really shouldn't be that much more difficult than a recovery run, just maybe a little bit higher intensity. So for me personally, my easy recovery pace is like a 8:30 to 9-minute mile. I know that's a big range, but it varies by a lot of factors. My endurance pace, it depends on the day. It could be a 7:45 and it can be an 8:30 on some days, or an 8:15. It varies greatly, and it's a lot of different factors. So next on the scale is a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's the steady state run. Steady state is faster than easy, but not quite a tempo run. This is something that you should be able to maintain for like a short race distance, maybe a half marathon. If you're on the trails, maybe an 8-mile, 10-mile race, maybe a half marathon as well. But this is something where you should be running relaxed, good form, and not really labored either. So for me, again, that steady state, it varies greatly, but it's probably anywhere from that, depending on the day, 7:20 to 7:30 up to an 8-minute mile. Again, depending on the day. But then after that, we're going to move into a tempo, and that's again a 7 or 8 out of 10, a tempo pace. So this is more labored. This is something you should be able to maintain for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit more labored, but you should still be in control. You should still be running with good form. So for me, my tempo pace is really in that 6:50 to 7:10 pace. A little bit faster on some days, depending on a lot of different factors like heat and humidity. Right now, it slows down quite a bit. But this is something you should be able to maintain for about an hour, maybe a little bit more. But again, just be in control and maintain good form. Next, we've got the threshold pace. This is an 8 out of 10. By the way, all the paces I'm giving you, my paces that I'm giving you are road paces, not trail paces, because I do this on the road as well. My trail paces are obviously going to be slower. But for the threshold pace, this is just under VO2 max. It's not 100% max effort. It's a hard effort, something you should be able to maintain for up to about 30 minutes. It's going to be labored breathing. You're working here for sure. This is where if you see a runner on the trail, you might just be like, hey, how's it going? You're like, hi, just a real quick, maybe 1 or 2 words. You can't carry on a conversation. So for me, my road threshold pace is really in that kind of like 6:30 range, depending on the day and how long. I mean, we're talking about going for 30 minutes. I could probably do a 6:15 to 6:40, depending on the day for that distance or that time. But yeah, that's me on the trail. Depending on the terrain, it's probably going to be somewhere in that 8 to 9 minute range, depending on the elevation gain. Finally, we have the VO2 max pace. This is 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, basically. This is pretty much all out. I mean, it's something you can maintain for, about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So when you're doing those intervals where you're trying to improve your VO2 max, you might be doing like a 4 to 6 minute interval session on the road or even on the trail. This is where you can't talk. I mean, you're breathing, you are working really hard. For me, that's going to be like that low 6, or even a high 5 to a low 6 pace for me on the road. On the trail, probably going to be in the 7 somewhere. Just depends again on the terrain. It's going to vary greatly. But yeah, so there you go. Anywhere from like a 3 up to a 9 out of 10 on their perceived effort scale with vert.run is what I use. So one of the main things to remember is it's going to vary. It's not going to be the same every day. Like I said, there's a lot of factors. Like just the other week, I went and did my intense hill workout, top right corner. You can take a look at the video. So that day I was supposed to do, I think it was 4 8-minute intervals uphill. I did that on the road. And it was tough. It was so hard that day. It was supposed to be like a 7 or 8 out of 10. So again, that's up in that like tempo pace basically. And man, it was just super tough that day. And I had just done this workout like 2 weeks prior and it was not near as hard. So again, it can totally vary. So don't get locked into thinking, oh, well, my VO2 max pace is this or my steady state pace is this. It's going to change. It's totally going to change. But I have found that it really works for me and my body. I like it a lot. I like being able to go on the trails or the road and I can just pay attention to my body and I know how I'm feeling. I know now when I'm out, oh, this feels like, I'm feeling like I'm putting forth an effort of about a 7:30 pace or maybe an 8-minute pace. And I can really it's helped me become more aware of my body, which is kind of the ultimate goal, be very aware of ourselves and know what we are exerting. Because then you can determine, if you're running a long race, am I exerting too much? Am I going to be able to maintain this for that race? Or am I going to putter out and die? Anyway, that's why I do it. That's the perceived effort scale that I use. I know a lot of you out there do heart rate training, like Maffetone. You train maybe you're one of those people that always wears a chest strap and monitors the heart rate religiously. And if that works for you, keep doing it. Whatever makes you a better runner and helps you know your body better. Keep doing it if it works. By no means am I saying this is the only way to go at all. Certainly not. It's just what I do and it works for me. Okay, well that's going to do it for today. I hope this has been a little bit helpful to you maybe. Let me know below. I am curious how you train, why you train that way. I had some good comments in the last video. So again, just let me know below the reasoning, what you do, why you do it. But if you found this helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would give the video a thumbs up, scroll below, click the little thumbs up, give it a like. It helps out a ton. Maybe if you're new too, consider clicking subscribe. It really helps out the channel and I would appreciate it. But like I said, that's going to do it. So thank you for watching. If you want to take a look at that intense hill workout I did, it's going to be on this side of your screen. You can go ahead and click on it and see me suffer really badly right there. Yeah, it was fun though. But then on this side, I'll put a playlist up of some running tips and injury prevention type things. So go check one of those out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.